All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us for our Super Saver series, Grocery Games. So today, of course, we're talking about groceries. Something all of us need every day is food to eat. But groceries can be one of those bigger expenses, and we want to help find ways that are fun and exciting to do that and aren't necessarily those boring, bland coupon ideas. So the average grocery cost per month per person in the United States is roughly around $350. I say roughly because that varies widely depending on where you live, what your diet is like, what type of food you prefer, how many people are in your household and who you're sharing with, your personal dietary restrictions. So, people with gluten allergies or other types of allergies may have different budgets as well, and just your shopping habits in general. Where do you shop? How do you shop? Those kind of things can make a big difference on how wide that range is for what your monthly food budget is. And the other thing we also want to point out is that not everybody can afford food that they need on a regular basis. About 13.5% of Americans are food insecure, and it's a huge issue that we see in communities across the state of Wisconsin, but around the world. And it's definitely something that can be a big impact on people throughout their lives. So, just to bring a little awareness to that. So, some of the old fashioned advice you probably have heard before about grocery shopping, especially some of those like old wives' tales kind of thing, is coupon clipping. They always say, oh, that person can coupon clip and they can make hundreds of dollars and they can get money back from the grocery store. But the reality is, they don't always make coupons for the things that you actually want to buy, or it's time consuming to research all the different deals and things like that. Also, it can get boring. They might be recommendations of things of eat the same thing all the time, but we all like a little bit of variety, especially when it comes to food. Only eating ramen noodles. A lot of kids in college hear this one of just the ramen noodle diet, something cheap, something simple. But again, that isn't necessarily the healthiest type of diet that's available. And you can still eat healthy, but also save money. And then finally, bland. Again, that kind of concept that being cheap with your food can be a detriment, not only to your physical health, but also it can make food not fun. If you're eating the same things over and over again, if you're eating things because of the cost of the items versus the you actually wanting to eat them, that can make a big difference. But the biggest way to save happens way before you get shopping. So, first, review what you have. So many of us grab a list, start thinking, oh, I need groceries for this week's dinners, and not think about what we already have in the pantry. And that can lead to buying duplicate items. It can be buying ingredients for things that you don't need. And it can be a big impact in that as well. So, really want to encourage you before you go shopping, review what you have. The next tip is to make a meal plan. Even if you live alone, having a meal plan ahead of time can make a big difference in knowing what you're going to be shopping for the week and knowing what to eat first, in what order, how to best prepare it that way. Meal prepping is another great idea. Now, oftentimes people think of meal prepping as like a diet piece or prepping lunches for the week, which that can be a way that people do meal prepping. But it can be as something simple as I'm going to be making a salad this week. I'll chop up those vegetables ahead of time and make enough vegetables chopped up for all the meals I need this week. So you're chopping one time per week instead of chopping every night trying to make a meal. Especially when you're somebody who's busy, you have a big family, or you're a busy person, it can be kind of hard to get home at the end of the day and be like, okay, now I have to do half an hour of prep work to get my meal ready. And you might not feel up to the task. So doing some of that prep work in advance when you do have that energy can make a big difference. Then the apps. A lot of those coupons the old school coupons we talked about are now available through apps, which makes it way easier to plan ahead for what those look like, both in-store shopping and online shopping, and can give you some ideas of what kind of sales are available and when things are in season, which is the next bullet point there. So, what's in season? that's oftentimes when things are in season, especially fruits, vegetables, and those kind of ingredients. That's a great time to stock up on them and freeze them, things like that. Just because that's going to be the cheapest point that they're available. When things are out of season, they often have to ship them from further away. They're probably worse quality, and who wants to pay more for something that isn't as nice? The last thing is buying in bulk. Buying in bulk, is it always better? Not always. It depends on the item, depends on the situation. So, is it something you're actually going to be using on a regular basis and using it up? Is it going to go to waste? Do you have a family member or friend that you can share some of those items with? That can help reduce some of that additional cost. The other part of before you go shopping and how to prepare is plan your trip. Now, oftentimes people think of grocery shopping as, oh, I'll just stop on my way home from work, or I'll go on Saturday morning or something like that. But planning ahead can really make a difference on ensuring you have a good shopping experience and that you're saving money while you're doing it. So, first, are you going to one store? Are you going to multiple stores? Planning where you're going so that if you see something on sale at one store that's not on sale at another, those types of things, you're not tempted to buy something you don't actually need. Walking, biking, driving, again, figuring out how you're getting there. Do you have the cart space or your vehicle space available to pick up what you need? Curbside pickup. That's another option that recently became available post pandemic. And that can be a really great resource if you are one of those kind of people that you go into the store looking to buy one thing and you walk out with 10 things. It's a really great way to be able to get that list straight up without having to have that extra temptation in store. And especially if you have older relatives or kids or things, pets, that kind of thing, where you're like, I don't really want to get out of the car anyway, it can make it a really easy deal to do that. Deliveries can be also convenient where you wouldn't even have to leave the house. However, they can be a lot more expensive than that curbside pickup. So that is something to keep in mind too. This seems like a no-brainer, but don't go hungry, don't go thirsty. All of us have been guilty of going to the grocery store at one point or another, and you're hungry and you see everything and you start grabbing stuff because it looks good. And then all of a sudden, your cart's full of stuff that you're probably not going to be able to eat today. So make sure you eat a snack beforehand, if not a meal. Make sure you bring a snack in your bag or have it in your car ahead of time, as well as bring your own drink. That's another thing that those grocery stores are trying to catch you on. You're walking around the store, you're spending a lot of time there, you get thirsty. And they've got end caps and coolers all over the place with great bottles of drinks and stuff like that. So it's easy to temptation to grab one of those. So you can just bring your own water bottle from home or a drink from home versus buying one in store, which is likely going to be more expensive than even if you would buy in a bulk pack. Bring a list. Again, another no-brainer, but sometimes it can be easy to forget that as well, whether it's a handwritten list or it's something that you have on your phone. It can make a really big difference. There are even apps that you can share with family members and friends where you can download that app together, and then you can all you can all add to that same list and be able to share that list together. So that way everybody knows what's on the grocery list. And then finally, who's going to the grocery store? If you have a family member or a friend or kids that are very tempted by different kinds of things at the store, or they're just sucker for a good deal, that might be someone who you don't want to bring along with you. Or if you do have them come along with you, plan ahead, plan some activities for the kids while they're at the grocery store. Have them help you figure out what's the cheapest item, what's the most expensive item. Why do you think checking where things come from, checking the labels, things like that can be just as exciting for the kids as checking out all the cool prizes and cool snacks. Next is when you're at the store. So we did our planning, we prepped, we prepared. Now we're in the store. The store is designed to make you spend. They literally pay people to make it work so that you can spend the most money while you're there. The layout is designed to get you to be in every single section of the store, that you spend more time there. And there's things like at the eye level. So oftentimes we see things at stores on shelves, varying levels. And most often, when you look at eye level for the average person, that's where your most expensive items are because brands and companies want to have their items within your eyesight when you're at the store. So, oftentimes, if you're looking for something that's a little cheaper, might be a store brand, oftentimes, if you look a little bit higher or a little bit lower than that eye line, that can make a big difference in that price point. And then the other thing is those in-store sales and coupons, those end caps, things like that. Really make sure that if you're not really needing that item, ignore the sale. You can add it to your list for next week because oftentimes those overlap, but don't let it tempt you to break away from your list. Now, this here is a design piece from the Oakland Press all about different types of tricks that these different grocery stores use to get you to spend more money. That's part of the reason why grocery stores keep all their refrigerated products towards the back of the store because they want, if you're going just for a loaf of bread and a bottle of milk, they want you to go all the way through the store, all the way to the back to get that because they know if they get you to go all the way through, there's a chance you're probably going to pick something else up on your way there or on the way back. The music oftentimes is pretty fast or slow. They've kind of changed the tempo depending on how busy the store is to get you to move faster or slower. Again, they're looking to have that fresh produce right out front. Next time you're at a grocery store, you're going to check it out. They always have it right near the front because, again, they want you to feel like you're healthy, you're getting those kind of like good foods for you. And so they want you to buy a bunch of that, pop it in your cart. And then as you go throughout the store, you're like, I got all this great healthy food. I deserve a good treat. And so you're more likely to buy less healthy things as you go through the rest of the store because now you feel like you've already gotten like healthy stuff. And then again, shopping cart size. This is something we've started to notice. Next time you're at the store, notice how big that cart is. Stores have slowly been making their shopping carts bigger and bigger. And again, that's to encourage you to fill it more. Because if you're using a really large cart, you feel like you're buying less and you're not filling it up with what you need. So you're more likely to grab more things to stuff in there. Same goes with those samples. Again, you're feeling obligated after trying something to buy something. And again, they're trying to get you to be involved with that. And then the meat counter, they always have that there as well, being kind of a bright, well-lit area, but they make sure it looks very fresh and very visible with the glass cases so that you're looking at it and you're tempted by it. So, like I say, there's lots of really interesting tricks that they use when you're at the store to try to get you to spend. And so that's something the next time you go grocery shopping, check out some of these tricks that they're doing. And so you can start catching what those are. So, and then more things that while you're at the store, try to prioritize getting unprepared food versus prepared food. Because again, there's oftentimes, especially when it comes to like fruits and vegetables that are pre-chopped, I know that can be a big convenience thing, but also you're paying for that convenience. So if you're comfortable doing that shopping yourself, that can make a big difference in price as well. Buying the lowest price per unit that you like the taste of. If you aren't aware, all grocery store shelves have in that little section where they have the price point on it. On there, they also have the price per ounce or the price per unit for that item. And you can use that to compare the amount of food you're getting in each different package, because again, that can make a difference too. You can take photos, take notes. They're not going to throw you out of the grocery store if you're taking photos with your phone, but that can help you start thinking about where the places you are that you normally shop and figure out what's the right fit for me. Taking generic versus brand name, again, that's a big controversial thing for a lot of people because again, everybody feels a little bit deprived when they've got the generic, but it can oftentimes be very similar to the name brand. So it can be a little bit of a family challenge. Try out one generic, one name brand, and decide for yourselves which one do you think tastes better and work off of that. I also encourage people to add a staple to every trip because again, you've seen when there's natural disasters or big storms, all of a sudden the grocery stores are out of toilet paper, they're out of certain fresh foods because people are panicking. So it's better to be a little bit prepared in advance, especially when it comes to food resources. So next time you're at the store, add one staple to every trip, whether that's a can of soup, a box of pasta, frozen items, because frozen items keep a lot longer too. Spices, condiments, those types of things that last a little longer, but in an emergency would be nice to have with that. And they're great to have as an extra storage thing that aren't going to take up too much space in your pantry. So we got out of the store, you're done paying for everything. What's next? So after shopping, ways you can save are checking your receipt. Oftentimes there are coupons in there, but you can also review the prices of things you paid for, compare them to other stores, other websites if you like to shop online for groceries, and kind of start getting an idea for your next trip if you think it was worth the price or not. Eat what's going to spoil first. Again, that seems like a no-brainer, but a lot of people, they set that salad up on the top shelf of the fridge and they forget about it. So again, with the meal planning, that can make a big difference in helping you use up that food in the proper time frame. And then you can also, if you're not able to eat it right away, you can freeze it or store it. That's another big thing that a lot of people don't realize is how easy it is to freeze food. And that can make a big difference in getting some of that fresh in season food and being able to save it for later on. You can also learn canning and things like that. But again, if you're not a DIY kind of person, there's no pressure to do that. Just ideas of things you can try. You can also learn your habits. So after you've gone grocery shopping and you've got cabinets full of food and your fridge is full, watch how you and your family eat that food. Find out what goes first. Is there something nobody is touching that we get every month? Things like that, so that you can kind of get an idea of how fast you go through foods or what kind of things are prioritized that way. Also, using gas rewards. Oftentimes, different stores will have gas rewards programs where you get points for your gas card as well as for your groceries. And so that can make a big difference on both ends because gas can be expensive and so can your groceries. So helping out either way. Also get creative with your leftovers. Again, not everybody loves the leftover thing, but there's all sorts of really great resources out there for how to fix up a set of leftovers. Everything from Pinterest recipes to other social media like TikTok and Instagram to even something as like brand new as ChatGPT and AI. You can put into one of those AI search engines, make me a recipe with this type of leftovers. And they can give you ideas of things that you could come up with that you probably wouldn't have thought of yourself. So it can be a really great way to kind of figure out what's a good fit for you and to use it up. So there also can be some unique challenges when it comes to groceries. Obviously, diets and allergies can make a big difference in how people shop. And also, some different types of foods, especially more healthy foods, can be more expensive. So it's something to start thinking about how that impacts your diet and making sure you're budgeting appropriately for your food that way. Feeding a crowd, that's another big part too when you're whether it's an event or an everyday thing, making sure that you're prioritizing those staples can be important, but also recognizing what that process of how fast you're going through stuff can make a difference. Pets are also another one. It's easy to go with the top name brand food or be constantly trying new treats or things like that. Your dog or cat or any of your pets, they also are getting a technically grocery budget for their care as well. So that's something to keep an eye on of where those prices are best for the food, for their care, for those types of things. So you can kind of shop around and see where the best value is. You can use all the same skills and tricks that we use for grocery shopping for that as well. Same goes for household and cleaning items. Again, you might have a favorite store you like to go to, but check out what the other places are that you can get that, what those prices are like, where their sales are, those types of things, or alternatives. There's a lot of dupes out there. TikTok has quite a few of those, but that can be something to try as well. And then finally, transportation. Again, some people struggle with transportation and have limited options when it comes to grocery shopping. And that can make it an extra challenge of finding affordable places to get that food. So, one of the other things I would recommend is trying alternative types of grocery stores. So, that could be everything from gas stations like Quick Trip to Dollar Tree. They all have different options, varying qualities, of course, but that's something you can try and see if there's stuff you like, or if you don't like it, you don't have to try it again. And those types of things can make a difference too on your budget. So, when times get tough, like we talked about, over 13% of Americans struggle with food insecurity. So it's not something that is uncommon in the slightest. So there's definitely resources out there. So whether you and your family or someone you know or care about, or just another community person that you know is struggling with food, there are resources and there is no shame in using those resources because they're available for that reason. Some of those food insecurity resources are food banks and pantries, food benefit programs like SNAP and WIC, community meals. A lot of communities, whether it's churches or other organizations, host weekly or monthly meals that are completely free. Great time to socialize and meet new people, but also can help have that alternative option for food. Senior food programs. So seniors are definitely more one of those more vulnerable populations when it comes to food insecurity. So that's definitely resources that are out there for that. For kids, free and reduced cost school lunches and breakfasts. That would definitely be based on the school that district that they're in, but a lot of schools here in Wisconsin offer that. And finally, United Way offers a 211 helpline. Not only does it help with food resources, but any other type of resources, and can be a really beneficial place to start getting ideas of where to seek support. And finally, shopping local. Again, we all want to help stimulate our economy, especially locally, and small businesses can be really great in making sure that not only are we eating healthy, but we're eating local, and that cuts down on costs as well. So alternatives that are available to the grocery store. So you can also try these different options like planting your own veggies and herbs. Again, you don't have to be a green thumb. You can try one or two things, see what works for you. If tomatoes are your thing, try them out. See if you can grow a tomato plant. You don't have to get crazy. Oftentimes you'll see online people go into these giant gardens and become almost having big gardens and homesteading, but that's not necessarily the right fit for everybody. So if you want to try one or two plants, go for it. You can also do online meal plans and grocery stores. They're definitely options that vary pretty widely in prices. So that's something to check out as well if you prefer to shop from home and keep that list straight there and not have those distractions at the store. CSAs and local farm shares. So those are from local farmers and local organizations that crop share. So they're sharing the crops of their farm. So it can be anything from beef shares or pig shares from local farmers that are raising animals for food, but you can also get fruit and vegetable ones. There's lots of different options out there. So those are something you can explore as well. Farmers markets kind of ties in the same thing, buying from a local farmer versus going through that grocery store chain. Local butcher shops and bakeries, those are really great options too. Oftentimes they have good deals when it comes to day old bakery and bread, as well as some of those specialty cuts for meat. And then finally, trying those local and regional brands. Again, when the transportation cost is lower, when things have to travel less distance, things tend to be cheaper. We really encourage you to try out some of those local brands and regional brands that are made here in the Midwest that can make a big difference in not only supporting that local economy, but also you get to have a little bit of pride saying, I grew up 10 miles away from where that's from, or things like that. So it can be a really great opportunity to support those local businesses that make our communities unique. So finally, some tips and tricks. Find those foods and dishes that you really value and enjoy, and you can prioritize them. You can budget for bigger purchases. So if you have bigger celebrations or you're looking to expand your food resources, those are some things you can budget for and plan ahead for. Doing your research, again, like we've talked about throughout the presentation, there's lots of really great resources online that you can do that research at, as well as going to the grocery store and just taking those photos, making those notes. That can make a big difference in being able to know where your best deal is. And then finally, join groups on social media. There are tons of groups online, whether it's recipes or coupons or just saving in general. And there's lots of really great resources there for how to save on your groceries. And then finally, try new things. Don't be afraid to try a new store for food, try a new brand, try a new flavor. Something like that can make a big difference, and you might find something that you really like. So, all right. Well, thank you again for joining us this week for Grocery Games. And next week will be all about utilities.